Hi, welcome. This is DGP 18. Don't forget to put the day, the month, the date, and the year, paying a special attention to your commas between the day and the month and the date and the year. Here we have our parts of speech listed here. Prepositions just start popping out at me. So let me read the sentence. At the corner of the street, they met the Count Steward who was awaiting his master. And at the corner and of the street jump out at me as prepositional phrases. That means they start with a preposition. So I'm going to label those. So we have two prepositions already listed, and I know that prepositional phrases end with nouns or pronouns, and both corner and street are nouns. There are 4 nouns that we're looking for, so I can go through quickly and say, oh, I know a steward is a person, that's a noun, and I know master is also a noun. So there it takes care of all 4 of our nouns. A lot of times I tell students to start with the article. A, and the are articles. There are 3 of them, and here's the 3rd one with the article here, and I'm going to mark those out. They met the Count Steward. Met, if you meet somebody, it is an action verb, and maybe this would help if you to see it. I'm just going to pull up my highlighter. It says at the corner of the street they met the Count Steward. That's the first clause, and the second clause is who was awaiting his master. So you need a subject for both of these, or a noun. I guess the next one is the subject. The Count's Steward, it's showing ownership. This is a possessive noun. We only have one of those, so I'm going to mark that off. Oops, I just marked off possessive pronoun, which means we better do that. His master, his is a pronoun. This is a possessive pronoun, and so now we have our possessive noun and our possessive pronoun. When we are looking, let's go for the pronouns. They are words that replace other nouns. They is a pronoun. It could replace 2 different people. They went to the store. And we have one action verb already. We need a second one. We have one in the yellow, so that means we need one in the green. This is your action verb. There you have it. Was awaiting is your entire verb phrase. So this is your helping verb. We'll mark that off. And now we need a relative pronoun. Those are tricky. It is who. It's the only thing you have left. So on those things you can just memorize. That's our first installment of DGP Week 18. Here's our second installment. Again, don't forget the commas, the day, the month, and the year. And you know, if you remember from yesterday, we have 2 prepositional phrases, at the corner of the street. So this can be something really easy to label. We have an adverbial prepositional phrase and an adjective prepositional phrase. At the corner of the street are both prepositional phrases. Of the street tells us more about the corner, and at the corner is where they met. So this prepositional phrase is an adverb prepositional phrase because it tells us more about this verb here, and this is an adjective prepositional phrase because it tells us more about this noun. So I've labeled both my adverb and adjective prepositional phrase. We have 2 subjects, 2 verbs, and 2 direct objects. And if you'll look here, I've already labeled the sentence for you. Let's relabel that with our highlighter. Who was awaiting? And there's your yellow at the corner of the street. So I typically like to start with verbs. We already have one, met. But look, yesterday, met was a verb. So was awaiting. So we are looking at these words, to help us with our 2 verbs here. Both of them are transitive. This is a verb transitive. They met who or what? The answer is the steward. This is the direct object. Awaiting who or what? The master. This is the direct object. And so who, the next thing we need to do are the subjects. I think subjects are a little bit tricky, so I always start with the verb. Who met? They met. Who was awaiting? If I said, for example, Drew was awaiting his master, you'd have no problem telling me that Drew is a subject, but replace it with the word who, and that becomes trickier. Who is the subject of this sentence? And now you've completed the subject part. And now we're ready to go on and diagram the sentence. Here is not the diagram, this is a diagram. You can see here immediately that here are your two prepositional phrases. If you look back on this day, we have an adverb or adding to the verb and an adjective, meaning we're going back and adding to this noun. And so if you'll get this first clause, I'll highlight it again for you so you can see it. At the corner of the street is the first clause, and who was awaiting is the second clause. So one is going to go here, and one will go here, and hopefully that highlighting will help you see that a little bit better. So let's start with the yellow. We need a subject. Subjects cannot be in prepositional phrases, not to mention we labeled it here. We have a they is the subject and who is the subject. So if you'll use the day before's information, it will be easier. Don't capitalize it. They is the subject here. Who is the subject here. Here, look, they, what? They met. What did they meet? The direct object, which is steward. What kind of steward? It's the count's steward, and it's the count's steward. Now you've completely diagrammed that part of the sentence. Now let's look at this prepositional phrase. This particular prepositional phrase is going to tell us more about met. That's at the corner. Notice that A is capitalized. There's the object of the preposition, and here is the modifier. Of the street, of is a preposition, street is the object of the preposition, and the is the modifier. Now if you move to the green sentence, we already have our who in the subject. This is the common mistake. Was awaiting is your entire verb phrase. So both of those words need to be in there. Who was awaiting, and then master goes here. What kind of master? Here's where your possessive pronoun. It's his master, and that completes this DGP.